Who are the top third base prospects in minor league baseball? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On MLB Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in to Locked On MLB Prospects, your home for all things minor league baseball. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, award-winning baseball writer and podcaster. Thank you for making this your first listen every single day. We're proudly part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And today's episode is made possible by our friends at Sleeper. Swing for the fences with Sleeper picks, and you could win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app, use promo code LOCKEDON, you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Check out Sleeper today. I'm watching the MLB postseason, and I've been watching a lot of the Rangers, and Josh Young has had a phenomenal postseason, phenomenal season really at third base, and is much better defensively than we thought he was. And it got me thinking, we need to do an update on the top third base prospects in all of baseball. And I consulted with the Discord. We're going to do this one a little bit different. The number one third base prospect in baseball, it's Junior Caminero of the Tampa Bay Rays. The number two prospect is Colt Keith. But we've talked about both of those guys at length in the last month and a half. Colt Keith got pretty much multiple segments of the show. Junior Caminero has been in the thumbnail multiple times. We've talked about those guys a ton. We're going to leave links and notes to the days that we've talked about those guys in the episode description, in the show notes. If you're on YouTube, we'll throw some cards up here in the corner you can click on to go see more about Junior Caminero and Colt Keith. But after them, some of the other top prospects at third base in the minors are worth discussing. And I think the first one, it comes down to when you're trying to figure out the number three guy, who's the number three third baseman, it comes down to Noelvi Marte versus Coby Mayo. So for Noelvi Marte, 2018 IFA by the Mariners and was traded as part of the Luis Castillo deal. What a get, right? Getting Noelvi Marte in that deal was phenomenal for the Reds. And they got a ton of really good prospects in a lot of those deals that they made. This year, he started off in AA Chattanooga, went to AAA Louisville, and then MLB. In the minors this year, 92 games for Noelvi Marte, almost entirely at third base. 279, 358, 454, 11 home runs, 35 extra base hits, 43 walks to 70 strikeouts, and 18 to 22 on stolen bases. Really good showing as far as he's gone and he's overhauled his swing since he got signed to be a little bit simpler and quicker into the zone. He's been able to keep this bat in the zone for longer, and he's gotten better from 22 to 23 about pitch recognition on breaking balls. You saw that a lot in 22 where a guy would throw him a slider down in the way and he'd chase for it, things like that. In the zone, he's really hard to beat, right? He can, like anything in the zone, he's going to crush it. He's got really good exit velocities, but because he was chasing too much, he didn't always get that power into play. This year, much better job, good enough for them to call him up at the very end of the year. And in 35 games in the majors, which almost entirely at third base, 29 at third, he played some second, played like a couple innings of shortstop or a couple starts at shortstop and some DH. But in 35 games in the majors for Noelvi Marte, 316, 366, 456, 3 home runs, 10 extra base hits, 8 walks to 25 strikeouts, and 6 of 8 on stolen bases. He's not incredibly fast, but he's got really good instincts when it comes to stolen bases. The arm is fine. He's gotten better at the accuracy of the arm, and I think that's helped him. It's always going to be a little bit iffy, and he's probably a guy that before I watched Josh Young significantly outproduce the defensive projection we had, I probably would have called Noelvi Marte a 40 defender. I think he's going to be probably 45 to average as far as defense at third base. And between getting Curtis Mead a little bit iffy and then now Josh Young, I'm beginning to wonder if maybe I just have a blind spot when it comes to third base defense. Are my standards too high for defense at third base? A thing for me to figure out, to dive into some more tape and to figure out, am I off on evaluating third base defense? I really like the ability of Marte so far to have an impact. I think that he's going to obviously break camp next year. He probably should be the starting third baseman for the Cincinnati Reds. And I think he's the type of guy that could be a 25 home run talent in the majors, if not more. I know he only hit 11 92 games this year, but it feels once he locks in the pitch recognition and he locks in the quality of contact, he's a guy that could be that 25-30 home run talent. Probably not going to be it right away, but I like that he got this test. I like that for the most part, he passed the test, and he still has rookie eligibility to go for a 2024 Rookie of the Year campaign. And I put him ahead of Coby Mayo simply because he has gotten that taste of MLB and succeeded. Coby Mayo obviously has not. 2024 rounder out of high school by the Orioles. And it's really easy to look at these numbers and say that Coby Mayo had the most impressive statistical season really of anybody in the minors. It's almost a travesty that I have him at fourth, but again, the only reason is Marte has already gotten a taste of the major leagues and succeeded, and then I think he could stick at third base, whereas I don't know if Coby Mayo will or not. 140 games between AA and AAA for Coby Mayo. 290, 410, 564, 29 home runs, 77 extra base hits, 93 walks to 148 strikeouts, 5 of 6 on stolen bases. He is, like, the strikeouts are high, yes. He struggled with breaking stuff away off the plate, and it's something where I think he's going to be fine. I think he's been able to make most of the adjustments he needs to make to be fine, and the power is absolutely real. Something where he struggled in the past with back spasms and other little minor kind of things, but when he's been healthy, he usually starts slow and then finishes absolutely absurd. I think the bigger thing here is going to be defensively what happens. There are plenty of teams where he would have a chance to stay at third base, but in this Orioles system with so many infielders, so many guys who can play shortstop, who can play second, who can play third, Coby Mayo feels like a pretty safe bet to eventually get kicked over to first base. He played some first base last year. So 102 games of those 140 were at third, 28 at first. Now at third base, he had a .919 fielding percentage and was charged with 20 errors in 102 games. So about 1 every 5 games. Again, defense is something that gets better as guys go through the minors. And we will see players get to MLB and significantly improve their defense when they're working with major league coaches every day, and they're learning from previous at-bats and previous, like, facing big leaguers and the exit velocities that they produce and things like that. Bobby Witt Jr. is a great example of a guy who was bad defensively his first year and became really good defensively his second year. I think Coby Mayo, if he stayed at third, and he has the arm for third, it's a plus arm, if he stayed at third, he could eventually be an average defensive third baseman. He's also a big guy, listed at 6'5", 230 on Baseball Reference, and something, if he adds any more size or slows down, he may need to move to first base despite having the massive arm, which is obviously useful for that first base, third base double play thing you see sometimes. But the only reason, the stats are phenomenal, the only reason I have him behind Noelvi Marte, again, is because Noelvi Marte has done it at the major league level, albeit in a small sample, and Coby Mayo has not. Although, if Baltimore Orioles fans want to just continue their belief that I hate their team because of all the trade deadline stuff, they're more than welcome to do that as well. You can think that I hate your team. It's almost a compliment as a baseball writer, content creator, to be told, oh yeah, that guy hates my team. It's like, okay, cool. Now you're thinking about me. I appreciate that. In just a minute, I've got 2 more third base prospects, may or may not stay at third. We'll get to them next right here on Locked On MLB Prospects. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Sleeper. The MLB playoffs are here, which means the clock is ticking on your chance to win 100 times your cash on daily fantasy baseball. Has never been more exciting than it is right now. And fun fact, the copy they gave me, none of these guys are in the playoffs. Ronald Acuna Jr. is out. Mookie Betts is out. Shohei Ohtani, they never even qualified for the playoffs. But if you want to pick more or less on stats for stars like our boy Evan Carter, maybe center fielder Johan Rojas. We're giving love to the young guys, Josh Young, Corbin Carroll, some of these young players who are having an impact on this postseason. You can do that for up to a 100 times payout on Sleeper because they have dynamic payouts that are live. They give you not just a preset multiplier based on the number of legs, but instead a customized multiplier for each player based on their individual odds of achieving that stat. Use promo code LOCKEDON. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Now, terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details, but they are currently operational in over 30 states, so check out Sleeper today. Okay, so looking at third base prospects in the minors, two guys that are radically different here. We've got Michael Busch, Los Angeles Dodgers, and Tyler Black of the Milwaukee Brewers. Michael Busch is a guy we've talked about on this show. I'm not going to say at length, not to the point of a Caminero or a Keith, but we have covered him before. 2019 first rounder out of UNC. Got 98 games in AAA this year. Had a small cameo in the majors. It didn't go, just like Miguel Vargas's cameo didn't go. Absolutely raked in AAA Oklahoma City all year this year, and I believe won the award for hitting prospect of the year from MLB Pipeline. I'm trying to remember exactly who won those awards. But 98 games from Michael Busch in AAA. 323, 431, 618 slugging percentage. Absurd slugging percentage. 27 home runs, 57 extra base hits. 65 walks to 88 strikeouts, 4-4 on stolen bases. Something where the issue here is, okay, forget the issue. The thing with Michael Busch, very good plate discipline, right? You see the 65 walks in 98 games. That is the core of what he does. He makes you come into the zone to attack him, and then he gets high quality contact on the pitches, on the strikes that you throw because you had to throw strikes. Now, you see the 88 strikeouts. Some of that is some swing and miss and getting fooled. Some of that is approach. There's times when his pitch recognition is so good that he won't necessarily swing at a borderline pitch knowing it's a ball, but it'll get called a strike and he'll get punched out. A guy that I want to say I saw him do plenty of challenges in the automated balls and strikes, those 3 games every week where the pitcher, the catcher, or the hitter could challenge. Michael Busch did plenty of challenges because he is good at the pitch recognition. Defensively, I think this is where you've got a little bit of an issue, and this is not a comp because we don't do comps, but this is where he reminds me a lot of Max Muncy, who's obviously already there in Los Angeles and is doing that same thing where he plays some second, he's played third. He's just defensively not really great at either one. His speed's not great. The defensive actions aren't great. The arm's not great. He's there for offense, and this is a find him a position to play kind of scenario. It's where I see Michael Busch. He played a bunch of different places this year. A lot of write-ups have him saying they project him as a second baseman at the next level, but he played more games at third than anywhere else. 61 games at third, 26 games at second, 7 games at first, and he was a first baseman in college, 3 games at DH, 2 games in left field. Now, in those 61 games at third base, had a .920 fielding percentage. He had 13 errors in 61 games. Again, I think that can get better. I don't think it's really going to get any better than average. He is here for offense more so than defense. And so it's like he would be fine at second. He'd be fine at third. Nothing exceptional. Not going to challenge for gold gloves, but would make most of the routine plays that you had to make. Would occasionally botch an easy one. Would occasionally make a hard one. Now, the difference between him and Tyler Black, this is a really significant stylistic difference because Tyler Black is size-wise not nearly as big as a lot of these guys like a Mayo, like a Busch, like a Marte. And then play style, still questionable defense, but just has a lot better speed than really anybody else on this list. 2021 first rounder out of Wright State, which I think is Ohio, but he's originally from Canada. 123 games this year between AA and AAA. And This was his time to get back on the field. He broke his shoulder, his scapula. Yeah. Broke his shoulder last year, made a diving catch, playing like he'd run out from the infield to make a catch in center field and got hurt. So when he came back, a little bit of struggles defensively, but 123 games, 284, 417, 513 slash line for Tyler Black. 18 home runs, 55 extra base hits, and here's one of the two things on his speed: 12 triples. I think he's the only guy I think he has more triples than everybody else on this show put together. 88 walks to 100 strikeouts, and 55 of 67 on stolen bases. I'm pretty sure he also has more stolen bases than the entire rest of this show put together. And so the thing for Tyler Black, I think the thing that kept him off of the top prospect ranking sheets was the power was missing, right? He wasn't hitting for a ton of impact. And that's something that changed this year. He was able to, his swing was very much a line drive swing. And so you'd have ground balls, you'd have a lot of line drives. He was able to elevate the swing a little bit. Feels like he did a little bit more pull side stuff. But the point is, he was able to integrate more power into the swing without a significant hit to the batting average or the on base. So again, 284, 417, 513 was the slash line. Like a lot of these guys, not necessarily great at defensively. He's played some third base. He's played some second base. He's played some center field. He is still listed as a third baseman. He played mostly third base, but I do think that this is a worst case scenario. This is a utility type profile for the Brewers, but I do think, again, another guy who can probably get close to average with the glove at third base. I don't think the arm's ever going to be fantastic. Again, he had the broken scapula. He's had a torn labrum. It's just, he throws righty. He tore that labrum in 2020. His arm strength's never been great ever since then. And I don't necessarily know what the ceiling's going to be defensively for Tyler Black, but he's going to be able to hit. And he's going to be able to play third base perfectly fine if you need him to. He's a decent athlete. And so the range is okay. It's all about working on the glove work, the reactions, that kind of stuff. But either way, I like Tyler Black. The only reason I have him behind Michael Busch really is because Michael Busch had much better power production from a over-the-fence standpoint. 513 slugging is nothing to sneeze at. But 618 for Michael Busch, 27 bombs, is probably why I have Michael Busch ahead of Tyler Black on these rankings. In just a minute, I've got two young third basemen I want to get to. We'll do that next, right here on Locked On MLB Prospects. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Jace Medical. I've got some family friends who love the outdoors. They go hiking, they go on long trips. Their wedding photos were them in a redwood forest in Oregon or something. I frequently see shots of them at the Grand Canyon. Things like, they're those kind of people. We all know those people, right? Their idea of fun is packing up backpacks and leaving civilization for a week. For Christmas, I bought them both a gift card to Jace Medical. The Jace case is a personalized emergency medication kit that carries 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You can also customize your case with extra medicines, additional life-saving medications based on your unique needs. This is a fantastic opportunity for those friends who either are worried about disaster preparedness. Maybe they live in Florida where hurricanes are an issue. Maybe they live in the Midwest where flooding is an issue. Maybe they live in the South where tornadoes are an issue and they may have to flee or have natural disasters that interfere with their ability to get medical care. Maybe they're travelers like our family friends who are out doing stuff all the time. Situations like that is why Jace Medical is so great. Go to jacemedical.com. Enter code Locked On at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code Locked On at jascmedical.com. Final segment of the Thursday show here on Locked On MLB Prospects. We're talking about the top third base prospects in minor league baseball. And at the very end here, there's two guys I want to talk about, and it's Brady House and Cam Collier. Really interesting younger players who are trying to make things work. Brady House, Big boy, 6'4", 215, first rounder in 2021 out of high school, and had a rough start to his year, right? Had a back injury in 2022, missed a lot of time, had COVID during that as well, and then had his position officially changed from shortstop to third base. And so when he started this year, he really struggled defensively while he adjusted to that. But since then, had a really good year, made it all the way up to AA, started in single A, high A, AA by the end of the year. The total slash line for Brady House, 88 games across those three levels, 312, 365, 497, 12 home runs, 36 extra base hits, 26 walks to 89 strikeouts, 9 of 11 on stolen bases. I mentioned he struggled defensively. He had 12 errors at third base this year. 8 of them were in the 30-something games he spent in single A. Like I said, he struggled early, and then from that point on, he cruised pretty well defensively. I think he had 4 errors in AA at the very end of the year, but for the most part, he cruised pretty well. He's got fantastic raw power, 497 slug. He's not always getting that into games yet. Again, he missed a lot of time developmentally, so I believe he's 20 years old, but developmentally, he's more of a 19-year-old. He didn't hit for a ton of power last year because, again, injury. He didn't always hit a ton of home runs this year, but the hitting ability was there. He absolutely showed that, hey, I'm getting better against high velocity. I've got good pitch recognition. He does have that intimidating presence as well. And I feel confident about the ability for Brady House probably to start at AA next year and struggle probably a little bit when he opens up at the level and then to take off. He hits to all fields. The power is going to come to all fields. I'm really high on the future offensively for Brady House. And unlike a lot of this list, I'm also high on the future defensively for Brady House. Again, after that adjustment period, 4 errors the rest of the season. The arm is plus. He's got good hands. He's got that internal clock that a lot of the good shortstops have where he knows exactly how much he has to get on this throw to beat you by a step. He's not max exerting on every single ground ball to third base. And so probably I feel the best about his defense out of anybody on this list, except for maybe Junior Caminero, because I honestly think Caminero is probably going to spend some time at short next year, as long as the Rays are still trying to figure out this Wander Franco situation until Carson Williams is ready to come up and play at the major league level for Tampa Bay. So, other than him, maybe, Brady House is probably the best third base defender on this list. Really high about his future. I've got the usual questions that you have with a young player about handling spin, about how the hit tool is going to progress, and honestly about what kind of development he's going to get from the Washington Nationals, because it's the Washington Nationals, and we haven't always seen them take these high draft picks and being able to pan these guys out. But they do have good-looking players in the system. They do have some development successes, so we'll see if they can repeat it with Brady House. The other guy here, Cam Collier, I had House above him because I like House's power more so than Collier's. Collier was not hitting for a lot of impact earlier in the year and had some pretty significant stretches without home runs. 111 games this year for him, and this is a little bit of adjustment needed, okay? So back up a little bit. 2022 first rounder out of junior college at age 17. He pulled the Bryce Harper thing where he went to junior college during what would have been his junior year of high school. So the season he just played was his age 18 year in professional baseball. Understanding that caveat, that he was very young for the level. He was in single A the entire year. Because he was in the Florida State League, we have StatCast data for it too, so I'm excited about that. 246, 349, 356 was the slash line for Cam Collier. 6 home runs, 29 extra base hits in those 111 games. 57 walks to 106 strikeouts, 5 of 6 on stolen bases. And I mentioned we have the advanced numbers here. So average exit velocity, 89.6. 90th percentile exit velocity, 105.5. If you'll remember on Monday's show, one of the things we talked about when looking at data for prospects is you're looking for contact rate above 75%, which he was at 76.7. You're looking for average exit velocity greater than 86. He was at 89.6. You're looking for 90th percentile exit velocity greater than 102. Again, he was at 105.5. And then you're looking for a chase rate below 30%. That's where he faltered. He had a 32.9% chase rate. And because of that, he didn't always get optimal contact quality. Specifically, ground ball rate for Cam Collier was 52% in 2023. And when you throw it in the zone, he's pretty good at making contact. 87.9% zone contact rate for Cam Collier. The issue is he's too often chasing out of the zone. And yes, maybe he's making contact with the slider down and away, but he's hitting it into the ground and getting thrown out at first base. He's not actually getting the ball in the air and getting where he can put his, I'd say, above average raw power into home run power. He had a streak of like 30 straight games without a home run over the summer. Not great. And so adjustments you have to make, right? Now, obviously, I think he can hit. He went to junior college at age 17 and batted like .333. It's just a matter of adjusting to professional pitching. Defensively, I don't know if he's going to stick at third base or not. I admittedly did not get to watch a lot of single-A Dayton games. So I don't know if he's going to, or Daytona, I don't know if he's going to stick at third base or not. His arm is massive though. So he could always play right field. It's like a 65 or 70 grade. It's an absolute cannon over there. So he could always, as long as the speed is good enough, he could always kick out to the outfield. We've talked some about how this team has a ton of infield options, but not a ton of outfield options, although I do Blake Dunn. Reese Hines has some promise. But either way, you've got some time to figure that out. He'll probably be in high A next year, again, playing third base almost the entire time. You're going to be looking to see, can he raise his average launch angle? I want to say it was something around 7%. So you want to raise the average launch angle for Cam Collier. You want to get him to chase less. We're trying to get him below 30% chase rate. And then you want to get him to just be a little more consistent with making quality contact. It's more so about the quality than the quantity of contact. Fantastic week. Just a bunch of shows this week came from a listener suggestion. Came via our Discord. So if you have a show idea, segment idea, mailbag question, tons of ways to get them to us. I'm on Twitter at Crosby Baseball. Show's on Twitter at Locked On Farm. We've got email. We've got a Discord. We've got subtext. It's all in the episode description. It's all in the show notes. Until tomorrow's show, remember, it's always a great time to pay a minor leaguer.